There we go. You ready? All right. Gather around, folks. He's an adult. All right. Do you guys want to do Bio Project or Logos?
The book of the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a priest who had been living in Jerusalem during the first Babylonian attack on the city. And they spared the city, but they took a first wave of Israelite prisoners and hauled them off into exile, and Ezekiel was among them. So the book begins 5 years after all that, and Ezekiel is sitting on the bank of an irrigation canal near his Israelite refugee camp, and it's his 30th birthday, no less, the year that he would have been installed as a priest in Jerusalem. And then all of a sudden, Ezekiel has this vision. He sees a storm cloud approaching, and then inside the cloud are 4 strange creatures that have wings outstretched and touching each other. And these creatures each had 4 faces. And then he saw 4 wheels, one by each creature. And then he saw that the wings of the creatures were supporting this dazzling platform. And then on that platform is a throne. And then sitting on that throne is this human-like creature, glowing and shrouded in fire. And then all of a sudden Ezekiel realizes what he's seeing. He calls it the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. It's God riding his royal throne chariot. Now the word glory, in Hebrew it's kavod, it means heavy or significant. The biblical authors use this word to describe the physical appearance and manifestation of God's significance when he shows up in person. These images in the vision, they're very similar to what happened when God appeared on Mount Sinai in the book of Exodus. And it's also very similar to the depictions of God's presence over the Ark of the Covenant. And that's actually the most shocking thing about Ezekiel's vision. What is God's glory doing in Babylon? It's supposed to be above the Ark of the Covenant, in the temple in Jerusalem. And so the first section of the book opens to explore that question as Ezekiel begins to accuse Israel of rebellion. So God first speaks to Ezekiel from the throne chariot, and he commissions him as a prophet. Ezekiel is to accuse Israel of breaking their covenant agreement with God in a couple ways. Israel has given their allegiance to other gods and has been worshiping idols, and this has all led to rampant social injustice and violence. And so as a result, God appoints Ezekiel to warn the people. The first Babylonian attack that took Ezekiel into exile is going to be matched by another, and Jerusalem, its temple, all face imminent destruction. So Ezekiel uses words and more to get his message across. He also performs sign acts. These were a form of street theater. Ezekiel would go out in public and start behaving in these really bizarre ways that were like parables of his prophetic message. So he was supposed to build a tiny model of Jerusalem and then stage an attack on it. Or he was to shave off all of his hair and then chop it up with a sword. Or the most extreme, he was to play the role of the scapegoat on the Day of Atonement. And he would lay on his side for over a year, eating food cooked over poop as a sign of the nasty food that people will have to eat during the siege of Jerusalem. And perhaps the most disheartening thing of all is the bad news God gave Ezekiel that no one was going to listen to him. Israel would reject him because of their rebellious and hard heart. And this recalls Moses' description of the people after the wilderness rebellions, when he predicted that exile would one day happen, and Ezekiel had the unfortunate privilege of seeing it all come to pass. And so a dismayed Ezekiel, he begins to perform his task. And after about a year, he has another vision. This one is about the temple. He goes on this virtual tour of the temple, and he sees what's happening there in his absence, and it is not good. In the outer courtyard in front of the temple, he sees this large idol statue. And then he sees the elders of Israel worshiping other gods, both outside and inside the temple. And then he sees the women of Israel. They're worshiping a Babylonian god named Tammuz. And the vision ends with God's glorious throne chariot moving up and away from the temple. It's leaving, going east, headed towards Babylon. And so in chapter 11, we come to see why and how God's glory appeared to Ezekiel there in Babylon. Israel's idolatry and their covenant violations, it's become so blatant and offensive that God has left his temple. They've driven him away, and he consigns it to destruction. But God hasn't abandoned his people. Rather, he goes into exile with them. And so at the end of this vision in chapter 11, God promises that he will return a remnant of Israel back to the land, and he'll transform them by removing their heart of stone and giving them a new, soft heart of flesh, so that they can love and truly follow their God after all. This is a small glimmer of hope, and it's quickly submerged under the reality of the imminent destruction. But chapter 11, it's a key transition, and it helps us understand how the rest of the book has been designed. So the next 3 sections are all announcements of God's judgment, first on Israel, then on the nations around Israel, and then on Jerusalem itself. But then after that, the hopeful conclusion of chapter 11 gets developed in the final 3 sections of the book. First, hope for Israel, then for the nations, and then for all creation. Chapters 12 through 24 focus on God's judgment coming to Israel. And this is a diverse collection of poems and essays. And here Ezekiel shows his fondness for parable and allegory. So he depicts Israel as a burnt, useless stick, or as a rebellious wife, or as a dangerous, raging lion that gets captured, or as 2 promiscuous sisters. These are all depictions of Israel's senseless rebellion and idolatry that results in their ruin. In this section, Ezekiel also acts like a lawyer. He begins arguing the case that, first of all, Jerusalem's destruction is truly deserved after centuries of covenant violation, and that even if the most righteous people in the world, like Noah or Daniel or Job, were alive and praying for God to spare Israel, God would not accept their prayers. It's far too late. And so God's goodness actually demands that he bring justice on this generation of Israel. The exile has become inevitable. They've reached the point of no return. Following this, Ezekiel focuses first on the nations immediately around Israel, and then on the 2 most powerful states in the region, Egypt and then Tyre. Israel has allied with these nations and adopted their gods and their idols, and so God accuses the kings of Tyre and Egypt for arrogantly viewing themselves as gods who get to define right and wrong on their own terms. And God holds these kings accountable for their pride, and he announces that he will use Babylon to bring them down. They will face God's justice along with everybody else. Following these really intense sections is a short story in chapter 33. Ezekiel's met by a refugee who's just arrived from Jerusalem, and he gives him the report that Babylon has attacked the city of Jerusalem, that the city has fallen, and the temple is destroyed. Ezekiel's grim warnings have become a reality. But remember, the end of chapter 11, that's not the end of the story. And so in the next video, we'll explore Ezekiel's profound vision of hope. But for now, that's the first half of the book of Ezekiel.
All right, takeaways from the book of Ezekiel. Okay. Takeaways from the book of Ezekiel? Oh. Yeah, so firstly we have the appearance, right? It's pretty cool. It has multiple heads on it, wheels, all symbols of the glory, the kavod of Yahweh. And so here's Ezekiel in exile, chilling by a river, like a sewer river. And it's his 30th birthday. Now this is when he is supposed to, if he was in Jerusalem, and if he was in exile, this is when he would have been inaugurated as priest. So he should be here working, but he's in exile. So he gets this revealing, like on his 30th birthday when he's supposed to be priest, he is in Babylon, and he's going, okay, what the heck? I should not be seeing these here. I should be seeing it here. But it shows that the Israelites, Judah, have done wrong. And so worship of other gods and social injustice. And they hugely done goof. And so he does all these signs of like things to like get people's attention. I mean, like super crazy. Like, I thought you'll laugh. I thought that'd be your favorite part, Char, is when he just sit on his side and eat food over cooked poop. Another sign is he actually like brings like almost Lego models of like here's Jerusalem and here they're getting sieged by the Babylonian. He's like playing with toys in front of the market, in front of everyone. And here he cuts his hair and this goes maniac crazy, chopping it in front of everyone with a sword. But does Israel listen? They have a hard heart. And do we all remember who told us about their hard heart? Moses, right. And they need a new heart. And so then here he gets a temple vision. So he's in Babylon, but he's seeing how things are. They're like Omni zombie worshiping all these other gods, and here goes. That's the kavod of Yahweh.
I'm mad you.
And actually he joins, which is cool. Is like joins them in exile. He's with them in exile. He's with the people in exile. Yeah, and that's Babylon is where they are in exile. So yes. And so now here it's even more like Judah is not destroyed yet, but here he's starting to present his case. Y'all done goofed. And then at the last end, Jerusalem has fallen. And next time we watch a Bible Project video, we're going to see the hope. Which I'm so thankful for the hope that he just did, that Yahweh did not just leave things at destruction. But there is a sign of hope. Which we're all blessed with. We're on like a lot of these signs of hope is points to King Jesus. Yeah, so they were expecting, they're treating Yahweh like a good luck charm. Like it will, like here we're worshiping at the temple. We're good. We're not going to like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so they're treating him like these dudes. Like you could worship Yahweh with other gods, but Yahweh's like, nope, you worship me alone. All right. Get some reading. We're in 1 Kings. Temples and churches. Or should we have music while I read? Let's do it. Yeah, see the ... That means he skipped a bit. All right. Thanks for amazing. Thank you for the beautiful weather today. That we can be out, have fun swinging sticks at each other and throwing leaves. And even though there are moments where we felt like it was too far, thank you that we can, that's our only drama. Like we don't have to worry about being put into exile. Thank you, King Jesus, that for what you have done for us. Your death and resurrection is for us. And now we, for the righteousness that you have, now we have. Thank you that your covenant with Israel now goes to the nations. And so that from what leaders do in judging leaders, doesn't have to be just on us. You're good. Amen. All right. 1 Kings chapter 6, verses 1 to 38. Oh. Yeah. They're burnt sticks, yep. As we just played with sticks. Israel and Judah are burnt sticks. 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 1 through 38. Temples and churches. In the 480th year in relation to the Israelites leaving Egypt, in the 4th year in the month Ziv, that is the 2nd month, in relation to Solomon's reign over Israel, he built the house for Yahweh. The house that King Solomon built for Yahweh was 60 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. The portico in front of the hall of the house was 20 cubits long, to the width of the house, 10 cubits wide, to the front of the house. He made narrow lattice windows for the house. Against the wall of the house, the walls of the house round the hall and the inner sanctuary, he built a lower story around and made side rooms. I'm very thankful that he ... this time, because reading this part of the measurements, like, is important because it's making a lot of Eden. It points into a lot of Eden things. But man, it could put me to sleep. When the house was built, it was built of stone finished at the quarry. Hammer, chisel, or any other iron tools did not make themselves heard in the house while it was being built. Yahweh's word came to Solomon. This house that you are building, if you walk by my laws and act by my rules and keep my commands, walking by them, I will substantiate with you by word that I spoke to your father David. So here is, what is Yahweh saying to Solomon? Rohaim. Yep, you will be like I will be with you, and I will keep the covenant, keep the promise among each other. Like, I will sustain your kingdom. I will dwell in the midst of the Israelites, and I will not abandon my people Israel. Which is interesting, as we just read Ezekiel, where abandonment happened because they did not keep it. So Solomon built the house and finished it. He built 20 cubits from the sides of the house with boards of cypress from the floor to the walls. Built inside the house an inner room for it, the holiest place. Thus he prepared an inner room in the midst of the house. On the inside he put there Yahweh's covenant chest. The entire house he covered in gold until the entire house was complete, and the entire altar belonging to the inner room he covered in gold. In the inner room he made 2 cherubs of olive wood. So cherubs, what does cherubs make you think of? Yep, they made you think of the cherubs that stand guard of Eden. They're symbols of Yahweh's presence. 2 cherubs of olive wood, 10 cubits high. In the 4th year, Yahweh's house was founded, in the month Ziv, and in the 11th year, in the month Abul, that is the 8th month, the house was complete in relation to all his instructions and decisions. So he built it over 7 years. What's up? We abandoned the sticks. The sticks! All right. All right. What part's this? Commentary. The little church building where I worship each Sunday holds only 50 or 60 people, but it divides into 3 parts. The congregation sits in the main body of the church. There's a little step up to the choir stalls, and finally there's another little step and a rail separating off the area where the altar or holy table is. That is not the only traditional way to build a church. Some have a more open plan. Yet, it is the pattern of most of the larger churches in England with which I was familiar and where I was a pastor. And who's the writer of this commentary? John Goldingay. So he helped with translating this in a very readable text. And also, he's talking about, this is his story about when he was a pastor. Because remember, he's from England. Yeah, as a pattern of most of the larger churches in England with which I was familiar and where I was a pastor. And one of those churches, I remember an old lady who felt that her place was in the main body of the church and who was certainly very hesitant to go beyond the second step into the railed off area. It was as if it was a very holy place. You could say she had reacted in a way that correspond to the message the architecture of the church gave her. So what's interesting is these churches are actually built with having large, tall ceilings and sections. So it makes, so in that the architecture, the builder were communicating separate places were like holier than others. Which kind of like you get, like that's kavod actually. the heaviness. Like she felt the heaviness in certain rooms. You know, actually, kavod can also mean large. Like in Judges, remember the guy who stabs the fat king? He stabs the kavod, and so the kavod just goes over the knife. Yep, it's the same word. It just means large, kavod. So like they mean like they say like large present. It's large. It's yeah. It's like one of those things, like you know how we say anger means short nose or long nose. Like hot, like short anger means short nose. I mean, it actually does say like he's actually big. Is it like his stomach just wraps around the knife when he gets stabbed? And his poop got spilled out. And so it like gets all smelly. And which then the guy who stabbed him was able to flee. And everyone thought he was in the bathroom making a stink. No. Yeah, it's one of the other judges. It's a message that goes back to the temple Solomon built. The main body of the church where the congregation gathers is equivalent to the temple yard, where the Israelites gathered. The choir stalls are the equivalent to the first part of the stone structure. The hall, also referred to as the holy place, with portico. Only priests go there. The area where the holy table stands is equivalent to the inner room, the holiest place or holy of holies. The basic shape corresponds to that of many Canaanite sanctuaries and royal palaces. Interesting. So it's not 100% unique of how the Israelites build the temple. That's partly because it follows the logic of any house, or in particular of a palace. There's a public area where people are welcomed into the king's presence, the equivalent of a yard or a lounge. There is the hall where the king would meet with his staff, and there are the king's private quarters. Even though it is kings who are responsible for the temple's building, they have no more rights there than ordinary people. The arrangement of the temple thus keeps the king in his place. It is not a royal chapel. All right, ready for clincher? Like the idea of having a temple, the plans for the temple don't come from God. Typically, God goes along with what seems natural to the people who want to relate to God. The plan of the temple thus compares with the plans of many Canaanite temples. It's quite small. And so here, like, he doesn't even want to have a temple, but he goes with it. So like there's a sanctuary where he gives like the temple, like the tent temple, he gives exact plans. It's like built as if a copy from the sanctuary in heaven. Yeah, like he is like even when he didn't want to have a king, because they were looking at the Canaanite kings around, he still was like, I don't want this, but I'll go with it. And so same thing with the temple, because when David wanted to build a temple, Yahweh then turns around, actually, I'll build a house from you. David wanted to build a house for Yahweh, and Yahweh's like, you know what, actually, I'll build your house up. Like the idea of having a temple, the plans for a temple don't come from God. Typically goes along with what seemed natural to the people who want to relate to God. The plan of the temple thus compares with the plans of many Canaanite temples. It's quite small. A cubit is about half a yard or half a meter. So about like 1.5 feet or to 2 feet. No, a yard is about 3.3 feet. Yeah. I think a yard, if I'm right, a yard and a meter are the same thing. Conversion. Oh, okay. Almost. So 1 yard is 0.9 meters. So meter to feet. So about 1 meter is 3 feet, and 1 yard is 3 feet. So 1 yard is exactly 3 feet. Us Americans in our And so about a cubit is about 1.5 feet to 2 feet. So a cubit is about half a yard or half a meter. So its size is not so different from that of our little church that seats 50 or 60 people. That's no problem for us because that's the usual size of our congregation. It will seem a problem for the temple in Jerusalem until you realize that the temple was not designed as a place to accommodate the entire worship congregation. The actual temple building was not a meeting place for the entire community, but a house for God. You know, that's challenging to my brain because when I think of the temple, I think of a place to hold masses. But actually, the temple is supposed to be like a house for God. So it makes sense that it's like only big enough to hold like 50 or 60 people. Sometimes it seems regrettable that we use the word church to denote a building as well as a people. But there's a certain appropriateness to it. The church building is a place for the church people to meet. In the Old Testament, the actual temple building isn't a place where the congregation meets for worship. You could say it is a kind of shrine, though the Old Testament doesn't use a word like that to describe it. It doesn't even call it a temple. When the word temple comes in English translations, it renders either the ordinary Hebrew word for a house or the one for a palace. The word you would use for a splendid royal residence. The temple is a house for God, a place for the divine king. It's a house because it's a dwelling. It's a palace because it's paneled with cedar and decorated with carving and covered in gold. Some hyperbole may be assumed here. That same word for palace is also used for the main hall of the building. Around the main hall of the temple are side rooms that will be used for storage, preparation, and so on. Outside the temple is a big open area, which compensates for the smallness of the temple itself. Stories in the Old Testament and in the Gospels describe how large crowds could gather in the temple area. So the building itself is small, but there's a large space like outside the temple for people to gather. As a result of its enlargement by Herod the Great in New Testament times, it was as big as a football field as it is today. So the area outside was as big as a football field for people to gather. It was not so big in the Old Testament times. So remember, there's the first temple, which was destroyed during the Babylonian besiegement. And there's a second temple during Jesus' time that was built by Herod the Great. But it was still big enough for any assembly that could be imagined. The climate in Jerusalem being more like that of Southern California than that of Britain. At a time of year like that for the temple dedication in September, October, you could plan for events without worrying about whether it might rain, though you might get caught out if you had a big gathering in January. See the story in Ezra 10. 3 other comments in the story of the temple building are worth noting. One is the date. 480 years after the Exodus. That sounds like a symbolic date. 1 generation is 40 years. Oh. The total period is thus 40 generations. And the figure is approximately the one you gain by counting up the dates in the Old Testament from the time of Moses to Solomon, though historically those dates overlap. So this isn't the kind of date you can make the basis for writing our kind of history. You can't work out from Solomon's date, about 960 BC, that the Exodus must have happened about 1440. It's more like the account of Jesus' genealogy at the beginning of Matthew, which tells of 14 generations from Abraham to David, 14 from David to the exile, and 14 from the exile to Jesus. So when it says 480 there, 480 years, that's more of a symbol number, not actual account. It's more like, so more like Jesus' genealogy, which is really cool because it does 7 by 7 by 7. You can compare that account with the list of generations. You can compare that account with the list of generations in the Old Testament that Matthew was using and see that his version works only because he is selective in what he includes in order to devise an account that symbolizes the careful way in which God's sovereignty is at work in the story. The dating in 1 King is similar, as well as making a link with the Exodus, and may also make a link with the temple's destruction and or its restoration, which happened 480 years or so later. So Matthew's structuring of Israel's story is very similar to that in 1 Kings, and both make the same point. You guys ready to hear the point? That God's sovereignty is at work in the events the account relates. And so the temple being made is a symbol of his sovereignty with the 480, because 480 years later is when the temple will be rebuilt or restored. The second comment concerns the silence. In general, the Old Testament is much more interested in noise than in silence. Noise makes it possible to praise God and to pray. And noise on God's part is an indication that God is acting in response to prayer and in a way that deserves praise. So it is striking when occasionally the Old Testament commends silence as a mark of awe, respect, and anticipation. The third comment is a reminder about the terms of God's living among the Israelites. It might seem to raise metaphysical questions. How can the Creator God live in a small, humanly made house? And considering that question, God is more interested in some moral or relational considerations. God has no problem about living among the Israelites as long as they live the way God expects. That's symbolized by the presence of the covenant chest in the inner room, the holiest place. So we might get bogged down, like, how can a big God live in a small place? But Yahweh is more concerned about keeping to the covenant terms, to be a people where he could reside among you. All right, friends, we can start. Huh? I declared allegiance to King Jesus when I was 14. And I have been, ever since 14, I have been setting my whole life and dedication toward that truth. Like, yeah, so I try to, ever since 14, every avenue of my life, I've been trying to rein in that. What's up, champion? Are you still there, my friend? I will love to address your question. So, if you're still here, anyone, during reading, I minimize the chats so that I could focus on my conversation with my Brohamian people around me. And now, since I'm gaming, I could actually, I can address any questions.
Now hear this, you fiends! Leave Halloween Town at once, by order of the mayor! Jack, where are you? I'm only an elected official. I can't handle this by myself.
I'm only an elected official.
We're on it.
Ooh.
Donald! Back off! Yeah, back off!
Sora! Sora!
Take this! Light! Back off! Light! This is it! Yeah, back off! Back off! Take this! This is it!
Prepare to scream!
Take that! Take that!
Was
What should we bring along?
I talking? So, Chippy, if you're still there, I'd love to address your question, my friend.
Next time?
A bucket full of caterpillars!
Or something even worse? Who's that? Some old hag.
Silence.
A witch?
Perhaps you three could be of use to me. Come along, all of you. I'll show you the true meaning of mischief.
All right, bodyguards. Christmas Town is this way. The doorway.
Did I hear my name? What's up? What's up? Did the game freeze? That happens. Hit Windows key and they'll tell us. Yeah. Sorry, friend.
in the woods just past the graveyard.
Back off! Yeah.
Mhm.
Back off!
Oh, that's perfect.
This is it. It's over. This is it. Yeah, this is it. Yeah. This is it. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Here it is, the door to Christmastown. The spooks of Halloween can get so tiresome year after year. I wanted something new, and I found this. Beyond this door is a world filled with wonders the likes of which you've never seen. At first, I couldn't believe my eyes. Everything was so fresh and exciting.
Come on, just open it.
So excited.
Cool.
In his workshop. Shall we? Ooh.
here too?
On guard, loyal bodyguards.
Who?
Yeah. Ha! Take this!
Who?
Ha!
Who?
Donald! Ha! Yeah! Ha! 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 Back off!
Who?
Take this! Ha! Ha! Yeah!
Something is amiss.
Heal! Yeah! Yeah! Ha! Yeah! Ha! Ha! This is it! Yeah! Ha! Yeah! Ha! Rah! Take this!
Christmas is in big trouble.
Gorge, we can't let anything bad happen to Christmas.
That's where Santa Claus lives.
Yeah! Aha! Yeah! Ha! Whoa!
Well, hello everyone. Did you come to see if you're on my nice list?
What's up, Too Savage?
Your name?
How you doing,
Sora,
friend?
sir.
Let's see. Sora. Here you are. Well, according to my list, Sora, 7 years ago, you told everyone you did not believe in Santa Claus. Oh, that is unfortunate.
How about Donald and Goofy? Oh, boy!
Am I on your list too by any chance? It's me, Jack.
Jack Skellington? What sort of trouble did you bring this time?
Yeah,
This time?
saw
It's
that.
a long story.
It's interesting. You know, I'm 32, 33, so Dragon Ball Z has been with me since childhood, so
There!
it's weird to think. Weird to think about mortality. But then again, my dad died when I was 8, so not too weird to me. Kind of used to. Yeah, like I remember, like my dad, he would come home, he'll do a night shift, come home, and so I'll wait till midnight to watch Dragon Ball Z with him. Good memories. They'll do like a whole, like the whole intro scene, I'll be like punching the air, dancing with it, like the whole fight dancing. This is my first time playing it, actually. Due to growing up, I just didn't have access to it
Why
until
do we have to hide?
now they remade it on PC.
Silence. Well, this is a pleasant surprise. That fool Jack brought Sora and the others with him. Now we can deal with all of them at once.
What do you want us to do?
Who's there?
Busted!
I am playing on the hardest difficulty.
Oh! It's Lock, Shock, and Barrel.
Not those three.
I assure you they're not with us.
Well, whatever the case, they've been quite naughty. Catch them and bring them back here. They're going to get a lecture.
Mr. Claus, I wanted to talk to you about Christmas first.
It'll have to wait. I need to see how things are progressing in my workshop.
Come on, Jack. Let's catch those little pranksters.
Oh, all right then.
Alright. Fire boost, that's all I have right now. So let's go to abilities. Oh, customize. Fire's on. Alright, I'll just put reflect back on. I expand fire since I got the boost and I have all this extra magic. Might as well.
Yeah! Prepare to
Oh.
scream!
Oh, wow. Good numbers. Ooh. Oh. Hmm. First. There we go. Is all the super defenses. Let's go.
Donald! Yeah! Let's go! Give me strength! Ha! Yeah! Give me strength!
I was so looking forward to destroying that ridiculous Christmas town. But now that Sora and those imbeciles are here, I think a change of plan is called for. Revenge before pleasure, after all.
What kind of revenge?
The magnificent, malevolent kind, of course.
That sounds really bad.
Like Oogie's kind of bad.
And that's super duper bad.
Oogie Boogie? That bag of incensed insects? How intriguing. And where might I find him?
Jack and his dumb, stupid friends destroyed him.
Ah, yes. Now I remember. More intriguing still. I believe I'll bring your master back for you.
No problem. They got super bad. And we thought in the first one that they changed heart.
Yeah, take this. Yeah, it's over.
Oh. Oh.
Take this. Right. It's over.
Nothing special here.
I feel like a million bugs. I really owe you one for this, Maleficent.
Indeed you do, Oogie. Do you remember Sora, Donald, and Goofy?
Do I remember them? Ah! You're too much! I'll never forget what they did to me. What was it they did to me?
Squashed you like a bug.
That sounds bad.
And Jack helped.
Even worse.
They creamed ya.
That's right. That's right! That's one thing I won't be forgetting anytime soon. It's the last thing I remember, and it's the only thing I'll remember until I teach those clowns not to mess with Mr. Oogie Boogie!
Yes, that's right. That's the spirit. And I have the perfect plan already in mind. Have you ever heard of Christmas Town?
Mr. Oogie,
Wake up! Wake up!
we want to see how bad you are.
It seems he needs more time to recover. You three, stay here and keep Sora and the others occupied. My heart is with you, but do not fail me.
There they are.
Stop them!
Tie him down. Get him. Stop! Donald! Back off! Yeah! 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 Ah! This is it! Ha! Yeah! Ha! Yeah! Ha! Back off! Ha! 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 Back off! Ha! Yeah! Ha! Back off! This is it! Yeah. Ha. Heal. Yeah.
2, 3. Together's the key.
Yeah. 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 Donald. Take this. Yeah. Yeah. Heal. Yeah.
Confound it, now I've lost my way.
All right, in 30 minutes, I have to go through stats, my friends.
Oh, this is utter foolishness. I should be getting ready for Christmas.
Is that you, Mr. Santa Claus?
Yes, but please call me Santa Claus.
Of course. Mr. Santa Claus, I was hoping I'd find you here. You see, it's very important that you go back to Christmas Town. I'm afraid something terrible is going to happen if you don't.
Well, I am behind on my preparations. All right, tell Jack I'll be waiting for him at home. He had something to say to me about Christmas.
But that's just it. Please, go home and lock the door. And if Jack knocks, don't open it.
There. The large one in red.
All I gotta do is kidnap him?
That's right. Lock him up at once. Then begin destroying Christmas Town. That's sure to make Sora and the other fools come running.
And then they're all mine!
Yes. And in the meantime, I'll turn Santa Claus into Santa Heartless.
Are we done?
Who's there?
Take this! Yeah!
Prepare to scream!
Back off! Let's go!
Extra
Huh.
I've done a little redecorating. Wait, something's not quite right. I know what it is. We just need a little more of that boogie flair.
I do hope our jolly old friend is looking forward to becoming a Heartless. Oh, clumsy oaf!
Are you still here? Why don't you oogie on back where you came from? You're cramping my style.
Have you already forgotten who brought you back, you insolent bag of bugs?
Sorry, can't remember a thing.
Very well, you ingrate. You'll rue the day you spurned my help.
What's up, Block Man?
That's Santa's house.
Back off! Yeah. Ha. Huh. Ha. Use this.
Genie! Over and out!
Ha. Donald. Ha. Ha. Back off. Yeah. Rah. Ha. Yeah. Ha. Yeah. Ha. 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 It's over. Ha. Rah. Back off.
Okay. $125 block man. That's all I need. The first thing I need.
Jack Skellington.
Oogie!
You and I have a score to settle, Jack. Same goes for your little sidekicks.
What are you planning to do with Sandy Claus?
Who? Sandy Claus? I don't know what you're talking about. And why is this roly-poly red guy here? Time to go, Grandpa! Huh?
Mr. Santa Claus!
Why, you... Ah! Ha!
Stop! Huh?
Nice view from up here. That's right, away you go.
Yeah. Ha. Done.
That's right, away you go.
Donald.
That's right, away you go. That's right,
Auto
away
thing.
you go.
Ha. Yeah.
That's right, away you go.
Ha. Done.
I'll squash you flat. That's right, away you go. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Ha. It's over. Ha. Yeah. Goofy. Come on. Ha. Done. Ha. Done.
I'll squash you flat. Ow, wow. Hope you like the Oogie gift I picked out for you.
Ha. Done. Ha.
I'll squash you flat. Nice view from up here. Hope you like the Oogie gift I picked out for you.
Done.
I'll squash you flat. Nice view from up here.
Encore!
Hope you like the Oogie gift I picked out for you. I'll squash you flat.
Like,
That's right, away you go. I'll squash you flat. Hope you like the Oogie gift I picked out for you. That's right, away you go. I'll squash you flat.
Yeah.
That's right, away you go.
Yeah.
Hope you like the Oogie gift I picked out for you. That's right, away you go.
Yeah.
I'll squash you flat.
Heel.
Hope you like the Oogie gift I picked out for you. That's right, away you go.
Yeah. Back off.
I'll squash you flat. Hope you like the Oogie gift.
Yeah. Back off. Yeah. Take this.
Party crashes.
Let's go.
You won't make a dope out of me. Let's crank things up. Come on, baby. I'll squash you flat. Now you just try dodging this. That's right, away you go. I'll squash you flat. Wow. That's right, away you go. Oh. Now you just
You hear me, Black Man? I'm reading your riddles.
I'll squash you flat. That's right, away you go. Come on, baby. I'll squash you flat. Now you just try dodging this.
Encore!
Jack!
Prepare to scream!
That's right, away you go. I'll squash you flat. That's right, away you go. Come on, baby.
Yeah!
Now you just try dodging this. That's right, away you go. I'll squash you flat.
This is it.
Huh?
Free the bugs.
All right, Christmas is safe again.
Perfect. I'd better get down to business.
Yup, you ought to stick to Halloween and spooky stuff.
Jack. Here, it's done.
Wonderful! Why, I love it! Thank you, Sally.
Jack, do you really have to do this?
But I make a splendid Santa Claus.
Listen here, Jack Skellington. You saved me in Christmas as well, and for that I'm very grateful.
Ooh.
But please promise you won't cause any more trouble. And about that suit, don't
Dashing.
even think about taking over for me again.
I just thought you could use a little help this year, Mr. Claus. You must be exhausted from all the preparations. And I wouldn't mind a second chance to get this Christmas thing right.
Yes, being Santa Claus can be tiring. But let me tell you something, Jack. Seeing the happy faces of little children when they discover the presents I've brought them makes it all worthwhile, year after year after year. And you, Jack, you love to make them gasp and see them shiver with fright. What if someone tried to take all of that away from you? We both have very important jobs to do, Jack. Mine is to take care of Christmas, and yours is to take care of Halloween. So we each have to do the very best we can. After all, you're the face of Halloween, Mr. Jack Skellington. The Pumpkin King, the Knight of Nightmares.
The Night of
And even
Nightmares.
though you're fascinated with Christmas, Jack, Halloween is your true specialty. Don't you see? Children rely on both of us to do our jobs. Halloween needs your attention, and I know Christmas needs mine. Urgently.
You're right. I am the master of terror. And if Halloween has become too routine, all I have to do is think of something new that'll really make them scream.
Jack! Oh, Jack!
I'm only
I've been
elected
looking for
official.
you everywhere. We must go over the plans for next Halloween. I can't do a thing without your approval.
The elected
So
official
true.
can't do anything without his approval. That's good.
Good luck, Jack Skellington.
Well, there he goes.
Yes, and I've got lots of names to check and preparations to finish.
Oh, Jack, this is no time for joking.
What's this? Perhaps a bit too festive for our Halloween needs.
We better get going.
Before you do, Sora, I believe there's a friend of yours who, if I recall correctly, was the one who told you there's no such thing as Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah. He did say that.
Be sure to give him my very best wishes.
I will, but... do you know where I can find Riku?
No, but don't give up. Remember, if you believe in Riku, you will find him, just as you found me.
Right.
Bum 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 bum. Magnet element. The draws in the. Huh.
Gather!
Oh, that's cool. Yep, not happening. All right, in 12 minutes, you have to go through stats, my friends.
Huh. Yeah. 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 Rah. Back off. Yeah. 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 Huh. Yeah. Ha.
Oh. Alright, cool.
Light! Back off! Let's go! Ha! Take this! Yeah, it's over. Take this.
Oh, I got Ars Arcanium.
Take this.
Not Ars Arcanium where I use magic.
Jack, prepare to scream!
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Jack, prepare to scream!
Back off! Yeah, back off! It's over! Back off! This is it! Feel! This is it! Thank you! Back off! It's over! This is it! Yeah! Ha! Ha! This is it! Ha! 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 Yeah! Yeah! Ha! Yeah! Ah! Yeah! Yeah. Ha. Rah.
Prepare to scream!
Ha. Ha.
All right, in a minute, we have to go through steps, okay, guys? Let's do it.
Full speed ahead!
That time. Huh? You're at a Grace, it looks like, so that was like. I'll say the next time you're at Grace. You guys gotta call it. Just be the same spot. Alright. Charlie, so you died, so we need to go through steps now. Then you have to do it for the next allotment, my friend.